What's going on, everybody? This is HBCU Huddle. I am CJ Hurt. Follow me on Twitter at ConRadicalness on the Twitter. Join alongside Mike Wallace, or by Mike Wallace, excuse me. You can follow him on Twitter at MyMikeCheck. Mike, how's everything going? How was Thanksgiving?
Hey, Thanksgiving was good, man. You're going to have to excuse me. The people going to have to excuse me while I brush up on my resume. There's a lot of coaching openings out there, including one at my alma mater, and I just wanted to make sure that I possibly throw my name in a hat. Hopefully they got the resources. Hopefully they got the resources, and I won't have to take too much of a pay cut, man, to go down there and do it. If you listen to what they're saying coming out of Grambling. But looking forward to another great show, man. Happy Thanksgiving, belated Thanksgiving to you and your family as well.
I'll be the defensive coordinator. I can't do nothing offensively,
I
can blitz defensively. We're gonna be a high blitz team. I believe in pressure on the quarterback.
All right, you go 4-3. So you go 4-3 or 3-4. You blitzing with the linebackers?
I go 3-4 to allow for the blitzing to
come off the edge.
Come off the edge. And every play we're coming off the edge. I don't know which edge, but there's an edge. We're gonna come off of it. We got a lot to get to here in the Built for Tough studio. We'll talk about, like Mike said, all of the coaching openings. It's 4 or 5 of them that I can immediately think of at the FCS level that we'll talk about. We'll also, on that note, give some of our best in this week's Pick Six. It'll be the 6 best coaching jobs, not coaching jobs available, but coaching jobs in HBCU football. So we'll do that. We'll look at SWAC and MEAC all-conference teams and more. But, Mike, it is SWAC Championship week. We'll get the SWAC Championship game this weekend when FAMU takes on Priaire A&M. As we look at the matchup, Mike, what stands out to you?
Man, just the fact that Priaire, kind of backed their way into it and did what they need to do. When you look at the stats that we have up here, these teams match up pretty well offensively. They both are explosive offenses. Shout out to Caleb Johnson, Memphis native, who's on a starting running back with Priaire A&M after transferring from Mississippi Valley. They win this game. We'll have them on the show in the next couple of weeks, too, because they're going to have some big-time things ahead of them. I just think FAMU's defense is what's going to put them over, as you see right there, best in the FCS with what they're allowing at 266.4 yards a game of total defense. You can't run against them. There's an opportunistic secondary back there. There are pick six waiting to happen when it comes to that. And they just are balanced across all 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams. And then when you have a coach like Willie Simmons, man, this guy is destined to do great things. He's already doing great things at Florida A&M, and it's just hard for me to pick against them right now. So I like Florida A&M in that matchup. I don't think they're going to get this far to get tripped up. What do you see?
When we saw them play in October.
Yeah.
And it was, if you watch the game, this. If you look at the box score, it really hammers home the point that Priaire A&M through the air really, really struggles. And in particular in that game, they only had 9 completions in that game. I do believe 9 to 24 passing in that game. Only 3.9 yards per pass, 3 interceptions as well in that contest. That defense that the Rattlers have really smothered Priaire A&M, and I would expect it to do something similar again. I'm like you, Mike. I don't think they've come this way just to get tripped up. I love what Willie Simmons has built at Priaire A&M, Florida A&M.
Yeah.
Musa is somebody who is absolutely a first team all SWAC selection this year. Possibly, very likely. Let me not say very likely. If I had to vote, he would be my Black College Football Player of the Year. If I had to vote, I think that he will win that award as well. Best player or most important player on the best team in Black College football, assuming they go out there and finish strong, win this game and win in the Celebration Bowl. I think that Florida A&M wins this one running away with it.
Yeah, I just think the way that Priaire plays now, they're always in games. It's always close, with the exception of when they met FAMU, right?
That was their last loss.
That was the last loss, and they hadn't tasted what it's like to fall short. And I want to say that game was at Bragg Stadium in Tallahassee. So they already know what it's like to go back, and now they're going to have to do it again. Southern had the same kind of dynamic setup last year when they had a chance to knock off Jackson State a second time and couldn't do it. I just think, like we said before, Florida A&M is just overwhelming when it comes to how good they are. You just hope that they don't get bored, right? And they don't look past this, because there's no tomorrow after this game. Like you have to win this game Saturday.
They don't have the luxury of saying, "Oh, we lost this. We can do
we
what
can
North
still
Carolina
get there.
Central did and go to a FCS playoff."
And still
Those
play.
players have started. No,
this is it. This is it. So, again, can Prairie View win that game? Yes, they can. They are capable of doing it. I just don't see them with an explosive enough offense to be able to put up the points that it's going to take to beat FAMU at FAMU. I mean, that environment is going to be raucous. I lived there for 4 years. I covered that team back in the early 90s, the late 90s for 4 years. I know what a packed Bragg Memorial Stadium feels like, the tailgate. It feels like homecoming every weekend when FAMU is rolling down there in Tallahassee. And look at Tallahassee. I talked to my daughter about this before. She's at Florida A&M now as a PhD candidate. And Tallahassee football is off the charts. Florida State is trying to get into the college football playoff. FAMU right down the hill is trying to win a black college championship. So Tallahassee is rocking right now when it comes to college football.
When we look at players who you think could make an impact, Mike Wallace, who stands out to you?
I mean,
on either team.
On it's going to take like Prairie View is going to have to be able to pass the ball, right? So when you look at making big plays down the field, I don't know if they can only throw 14 passes and try to win the game. Yeah. So having said that, FAMU is going to keep everything in front of them. So their defense collectively is what's going to do it for FAMU. And then obviously Jeremy Musa, he's not going to make mistakes. He's going to manage the game perfectly. If he plays to normal standards, that team is going to win. Prairie View, like I said, I'm not as familiar with a lot of their players outside of their running back situation, but I do know that they have to be able to get turnovers and pass the ball. If they can get 2 turnovers off of FAMU and pass the ball reasonably well, get 1 passing touchdown, force a turnover or 2 defensively, and rely on their running game, they can't fall behind. If they fall behind, it's over. It's a wrap. They have to stay within a possession of FAMU to even give themselves a chance.
They have to stay on schedule, not just for the entire game, but for drives. Just stay on schedule, and that's going to be hard because that FAMU defense is so good. Again, not one of the best from a statistical standpoint, the best defense in all of the FCS. So falling behind the chains or falling behind in the game prevents you from utilizing that run game, which is the strength of the offense for the Panthers of Prairie View A&M. I think DeJuan Lewis, defensive back for Prairie View A&M, you hit the nail on the head, Mike, when you were talking about the defense for Prairie View's got to force a turnover or 2, give your offense that is limited in what they can do and will be limited in this game because of what that defense brings. Give them some easy opportunities. Give them some chances.
In plus territory.
It's going to be hard for them to drive into plus territory, but if they start from the 35, if they start from the 40 or what have you, maybe then you can get some points on the board, preferably touchdowns. And Lewis, defensive back for Prairie View A&M, 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles on the year, 58 tackles on the season for him. I think he is the ball hawk of that defense, and he is somebody who's got a good enough nose for the ball who might be able to force Musa into some mistakes. And I'll go a different player than Jeremy Musa because obviously
he's
that's
the
guy for
I'm going to see if you're
A&M
thinking of the same guy I'm thinking. Go ahead.
Jamari Shareed?
Okay, no. I was thinking of Riley. Riley is he plays in what? He plays offense and he plays in special teams. Yeah. That dude could take it to the house every time he touches it. But go ahead. You said Shareed.
Just because that's the receiving threat, the top receiving threat for the Rattlers. Yeah. And if Musa's going to have a big game, it's probably because he's hitting him up more than a handful of times. And I would expect for some from Coach Simmons to decide, we're going to challenge this defense early. We're going to see about taking the top off the defense. We're going to try and jump all over them early. And I think that Shareed can do that, much like Jackson State did last year in their championship appearance against why am I blanking? Southern. When they matched up. I was there for that. They jumped all over them.
Right.
21-0 in the first quarter.
Coming out the box,
and then just kind of coasted from that point on. I would think FAMU jumps all over them and stays on them in this game. Jackson State kind of let up a little bit. It got to be an interesting game for about 5 minutes of actual game time before Jackson State flipped the switch and then finally put it away and closed the door. I would expect something similar to that, with the only difference being FAMU's not going to let off the gas. They're just going to stay on it and go all the way and win the SWAC championship game. It looks like we're both picking FAMU.
FAMU, yeah. So what do you see this game? What do you see that score looking like?
I will say, and it's crazy because it's a conference championship game, and scores aren't supposed to be this in conference championship games. I will say 38-10.
Oh, okay.
38-10 FAMU.
So you see a Michigan Iowa-esque type game.
No.
When it comes to that,
I don't know if Iowa scores.
So you don't even give them 10, right? You don't even give them 10.
Have you seen? Okay, we're on a tangent already. Have you seen the line in the team total for that?
I did.
The line, for those of you who don't know, is Michigan. Last I checked, Michigan minus 23.
Yeah.
And the total is 36.
Yeah.
So they're saying they're expecting Michigan to not only beat the hell out of Iowa, but that total to be under 40 because Iowa just can't score.
That's what right. So that goes right back to if you look at the score that you're talking about for Prairie View and FAMU, right around those same kind of numbers, right? So I don't think FAM is going to win by 3 touchdowns. I think Prairie View is just stubborn enough to give themselves a chance, and I just think they can't fall behind by more than 2 possessions. So you say, what was your score again?
38-10.
38-10. Mark that down. I'm gonna go 28-14.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 28-14. I do think it's a 2 touchdown difference there at the very least, but I hope it's entertaining. I hope the pageantry is there. I know a lot of people
going to be there.
Yeah, it's going to be nationally televised. I just want it to be a good game and one that can propel Prairie View into next season, feeling like, hey, we can come back and win the division again and be a threat under McDowell, but also for FAMU to say, you know what, let's put a bow on this and let's get to the Celebration Bowl and do some big things.
Absolutely. The SWAC and the MEAC this week announced their all-conference teams. Let's take a look at the first team for the SWAC. When you look at it, Mike, you have Jeremy Musa at quarterback.
Yep.
You have Atkins. We talked to
Ryan
him.
Atkins.
Ryan Atkins from
Offensive
Arkansas
line.
Pine Bluff, offensive lineman. Keyshawn Johnson, the wide receiver. We told you to keep an eye on him earlier this season. We talked about players to keep an eye on out of Alabama State. Who stands out to you, Mike?
I look at when I'm looking at that list right there, I'm glad to see Ryan on there because Arkansas Pine Bluff, didn't have the season that they wanted to have. So for them to do what they did, that stands out and that says a lot to me. I think Ladarius Owens is the one. Like you talked about Texas Southern, and you said when they lost their quarterback, like had they had a healthy quarterback, the season would have been different. And then for them to still have a first team running back there, that just tells you the other aspect of the 1-2 dynamic that they had. So, missing the quarterback threw their season into a tailspin, but they still had a great running back and a great opportunity for the young man Owens to get there and have a great first team all season.
Absolutely. Season. I think that the SWAC West might look a bit different if Andrew Body is healthy and you partner him with Owens in the backfield. That could be, to me, one of the best backfields at the HBCU level, certainly in the SWAC. When we look at the defense of all SWAC teams, first team, you got Malachi Bailey, got Colton Adams out of Alabama State. I do not remind me about what he was able to do this season, specifically against Tuskegee. Oh, my gosh. And then not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Rattlers on the all-SWAC first team, all defense. Mike, what stands out over here?
I mean, Bowler and then Major and Bowler. Like those guys were the next versions of Land and what's the guy with Dallas now? The defensive back with Dallas, man, having a great year. Came out of FAMU too. So when you look at what these guys are doing, they just continued that defensive push in FAMU. And when you look up and you have 4 guys on the first team, and they're known as an offensive threat, right? I mean, that tells you the kind of balance that they have. Shout out to my man, Sundiata Anderson. Still started the season off as one of the best players in all of FCS. Ended the season as first team all defense. So hopefully he can propel himself into some nice positioning now for the next level at the NFL level as the combines and the workouts start for that. But shout out to Anderson. That's the one I wanted to look for. And then obviously, like I said, Major and Bowler are two guys that have just continued that FAMU defensive legacy.
Land and Bell, Marquise Bell.
Marquise Bell is with the Cowboys.
Yep.
That's the one that's having a breakout season with Dallas right now.
There we go. The MEAC all conference selections also came out. When you look at first team, obviously it's going to be littered with players from North Carolina Central, none more important than Davius Richard, and then you throw in there Latrell Collier as well from that squad. Mike, when you look at the MEAC, who stands out on the first team?
Yeah, the record setter. You know what I mean? The quarterback. It's easy to start with a quarterback. I know they get a lot of attention. You know, this year we've just been blessed with great quarterbacks in both conferences in Jeremy Musa and Davius Richard. And, you know, those guys lived up to the billing. And one of them is going to have a chance to play for a championship. The other one's season ended, you know, with a little bit of a letdown there. But, you know, when Richard
looked like they were going to be fine. Looked like they had Richmond for a little bit.
It did. And man, that was a heartbreaker there. But for him to be able to put up the numbers that he put up this year, both passing and running, I think he had more rushing touchdowns than passing touchdowns, but he was well in the 30s.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To be able to do that from the quarterback position. What I wonder is, what is it going to take for him to be able to get a legitimate shot at the next level, and what do scouts see him as? Is he going to have to be converted to like a Tebow-esque H-back, you know, kind of, you know, tight end hybrid type position, or is he going to get a legitimate shot?
What's my man's name for the Saints? The Saints played for BYU.
Yeah.
Why am I blanking on that? Because I love that position for them.
Oh man, number 7. I know you're talking about.
Now it's gonna bother me. Now
I know exactly. Who Tyson
Hill.
Taysom
Hill.
Yeah,
Taysom Hill. There we go. Yeah, something like that. And I think there is a space for that on your team. When you think about what Taysom Hill does for the Saints, specifically when he was under
Peyton.
Sean Payton.
Yeah.
That's perfect. We've got your own special package.
Yep.
We've got 5 or 6 packages for you, and we'll use these 12 to 15 times a game.
Yeah.
And make the most of it. And
especially
works.
on third downs.
Yeah, and, third down, red zones, makes red zone conversions a bit easier.
Yeah.
That third and medium, not third and long, not third and short, but third and medium, third and 4, third and 5.
To give you a dual threat, RPO threat.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
I think that if he could be a Taysom Hill, Taysom Hill is thick.
He's huge. Yeah.
He came in real thick.
Yeah.
And I think that if Davius Richards can put a little bit more weight on him, if they're saying, you know what, we can't use you as a starting quarterback or a backup quarterback because you're valuable as this Taysom Hill / Cordell Stewart was this for a while with the Steelers under Cowher, and Neil O'Donnell was a starting quarterback where, hey, you're just our, for lack of a better phrase, you're our gadget guy. Come in, you can run, you can throw, you can punt, you can do whatever we need you to do, receive, whatever we need you to do offensively, you can do it for us. If Davius Richard can do that, I think that's a real good role for him at the next level.
He'll have a future. Have a future, but he's got to be willing to want to do that. But kudos to them and all the guys that made that first team, offense and defense for both respective conferences.
Absolutely. First team. Let's take a look at the first team all defense for the MEAC, and then we'll get out of here. You've got a couple of players from Morgan State on there, South Carolina State as well. We talked a lot about Howard and how good they were offensively.
Yeah.
They've got more than a handful on the first team all-MAC defensive selection as well when you look at Terrence Holton and others making their way onto the first team all-MEAC, and that's a large part of the reason why they were able to not necessarily stifle, but hold North Carolina Central the way that they were able to hold them and give their offensive chance to win that game. And they did win it, and why the Howard Bison, are in the Celebration Bowl this year.
Yeah, they are. And you look at what Howard was able to do. They put a sprinkling of guys on both the first team offense and defense. But one of the names that stands out that I want to mention right here is Elijah Williams, defensive lineman for Morgan State. He had Morgan State up there in terms of nation and conference when it comes to what the defense was allowing. The pass rush, being able to move multiple defensive positions along the line. He has some versatility there. He's a guy that could be interesting if he decides to throw his name and test the draft waters or come back and be a dominant force next year. So Elijah Williams was impressive to me for what he was able to do with Morgan State. under our friend Damon Wilson.
Yep.
You know what I mean? At Morgan State, they had an up and down year. They couldn't find the consistency, but when they were great, they were great, and when they were bad, man, they just couldn't get anything done offensively.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk coaching openings next up on HBCU Huddle on Grind City Media.
We're going dancing. Welcome to Fandom 101. We need you going crazy in the stands. Your path to fan mastery begins here. It's all part of the curriculum. The NCAA Division I men's basketball first and second rounds this March in Memphis, Tennessee. Attendance is encouraged. Passion is mandatory. Buy your seats today at ncaa.com/MVB tickets. Class dismissed.
I can't wait. I mean, we're going to have a new roster.
The Memphis Grizzlies welcome their newest Grizzly, Marcus Smart.
Coming to Memphis, that blue collar, is going to be great. So to be able to go out there and try to bring the championship to that city, it's an honor.
We're all hungry.
Let's go, big dog. Keep fighting.
We're super excited to be in front of the best fans in the league and hopefully deliver a memorable season.
I'm Kelsey, and I am here to present to you Complex Gone Sneaker of the Year. Sherman has to just talk. Sherman, talk. Sherman, Mr. New Balance. Defend this shoe.
This should have been top 5.
This should have been top 100.
This should have been top 5.
It is so ugly.
Not number 8. This is way too low for this shoe.
The Sneak Fest Show, live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Take your fandom to the next level with the official Grizzlies app. Go all access and behind the scenes.
It's got to be heavy defense. That's where it starts for us.
Personalized to where you are and who you are. Get easy access to ticketing, the game day guide, and your own app customization right at your fingertips. Upgrade your experience and download the Grizzlies app today.
Welcome back, everybody. HBCU Huddle, CJ, Mike. Before we get to these coaching openings into this week's Pick 6, Mike, congratulations. You won the Pick 6 this year. You won.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
You won because you won one game last week. That's all you had to do.
So that means if I won one game, you won.
I won nothing.
Nothing.
I won nothing,
Nathan.
Mike.
Oh, okay. Here's my picks right here.
I won nothing.
All right. So I Alabama State over Tuskegee. That wasn't that difficult of a choice.
Whatever.
I picked with my heart in Grambling, and look, both coaches are out of jobs. And these next two, man. These next 3? Benedict. What a major letdown right there, man. What a meltdown, a letdown. It's we'll talk about that in a second, but it's just, again, all season long you dominate at this level and you get to mainstream level and you can't put it together. You lose by multiple touchdowns. Same thing with North Carolina Central over Richmond. There was no reason for Central to lose that game. Up 20-7, you basically let them back in. And frankly, Trey Oliver did a great job. He's MEAC Coach of the Year. I would have gone with Larry Scott, but I feel like Central kind of quit on him at the end, and they didn't push through when they needed to. Deion, that went from being a circus show where everybody wanted to get under the tent to an absolute train wreck at the end, where now everybody's leaving, and there's so much controversy around that program. And then Jackson State over Georgetown. Hey, Georgetown bounced back though. Yep. I mean, Jackson State bounced back. Because they got to win, the other night over
Arkansas State.
Arkansas State, yes.
Yep.
Yes. So good job for them. Mo Williams doing a great job down there at Jackson State already.
Interested to see what that men's basketball slate, or not slate, but what that particular men's basketball team, Jackson State, what that looks like come late January, early February. Because that could be one of those teams that plays their way in by winning their conference.
Yeah.
And then it's they're a 14 seed because they've got some
early scheduling,
good wins, and nobody wants to play them. And so we're talking about a 14-3 matchup with Jackson State playing a 3 seed or something like that. And
it won't be any more intimidating than a Missouri, going to a Missouri or going to a Georgetown or something like that.
The closer you get in seeding, the higher the percentage chance you have to winning, because it's just the better teams always seeded at the top. So if you're not playing a 1 seed, if you're not playing a 2 seed, if you're playing a 3 seed, 4 seed,
you got a chance.
God forbid a 5 seed in that 5-12 matchup.
You got a chance.
You've got a chance. As we take a look at mine, I picked with my heart also on Tuskegee.
Ooh, that's a lot of red.
Oh gosh, it's a lot of red.
And that's a lot of red, and you're even missing a red.
Whole lot.
There's a red missing, so you still got a lot of red.
Whole lot of red. I thought Grambling State was going to do it. They didn't, and it led to Hue Jackson being let go. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. Benedict.
No, you got that right. You got that right.
I got Lenore right.
Recount.
It's tied. It's tied. We need to do more picks. The sad thing is, I do these, and I'm not giving myself credit. We tied. So Celebration Bowl will be the last pick then.
All right, cool.
We'll do that.
Cool.
Even though we're probably going to agree on the Celebration
Same
Bowl.
Yeah, we got to go. We got to
find another way to do this.
Yeah.
But either way it goes. So I got that right. And I will say this. While it is disappointing about Benedict going out there and coming up short again after dominating and not looking near as dominant in the playoffs as they did in the SWAC, it was a close game. It was a back-and-forth game, and I do believe they went into the fourth quarter with a bit of a lead before they allowed those late scores. One score to take the lead or to lose the lead, and then another score to kind of ice the game away. So I think that this is a performance that is much better than what they did last year when they were just ran off of the field. North Carolina Central let me down. I was like, oh gosh, they're gonna run away with this. North Carolina Central to the second round. And then lo and behold, Richmond comes storming back, and North Carolina Central, momentum is a thing in football also. And once North Carolina Central lost control of that game and lost the momentum, there was no way for them to get it back, unfortunately. And I saw Richmond's coach, his name is escaping me, so forgive me for not knowing the name, but he was talking in the presser like, listen, he brought this up, and I think this is an interesting point to bring up. If we don't win, if we're good, we get to go to the playoffs. If we're good, we go to the playoffs. North Carolina Central's good, they go to the Celebration Bowl. This is kind of a consolation prize for them and what they expected for their season. So I would imagine, this is the coach saying this, he imagined that it was hard for Coach Oliver to get them up for this game and keep them motivated as the game progressed. I had Norfolk State over Wichita State. It was close. Both of those games, by the way, were close. If they were under double digits, I think if they weren't under double digits, it was 12, 13 points. And then I had Utah minus the 22. The Utes I thought were going to just demolish Colorado. They didn't. They still beat Colorado.
They won by a touchdown.
But it wasn't by 22.
Yep.
All right, Mike, let's take a look at some of these coaching openings we talked about. There's openings with Hue Jackson out because there's openings at Grambling because Hue Jackson is out. There's openings at Southern as well because Dooley is out. You got, I do believe Texas Southern is open also, and Coach Buddy Pugh is out at South Carolina State because not out. He retired.
He
retired. And so South Carolina State is looking, when you look at the current openings at the HBCU level and landscape, what do you think is the job that you most be inclined to take?
Well, did
any of the firings surprise you?
Oh, okay, so we're doing the firings first, and then we'll get to the pick six. Yes. I was surprised by the Grambling firing, just because you don't give anybody 2 years. And now you see the trend now is that even in the NFL, 1 year, not even a whole year, right? You know, when you look at what they did in Carolina with the Panthers, you know, firing a guy 10 games into his first season or whatever, the leash isn't long. But I thought because of the name recognition of Hugh Freeze that he would have Hue Jackson, he would have gotten at least one more year, right? Almost one more year just to make sure we're not doing this too soon. And I get it, man. I mean, like, you know, you win 3 games your first year, you win 5 games your second year, you lose both of your Bayou Classic matchups, and you're not inspiring anything among the fan base. As a matter of fact, you have some of the more outspoken alumni going against you. That's a hard thing to overcome if you're Grambling. But when Hue left, he did his own press conference, and he said some of the same things that you're hearing, time and time again. When the guy got fired, I believe it was at Morehouse, he said the same thing. Look, who do these schools think they are to be able to say you didn't do your job when we're not even supplied the training staff we need to keep guys healthy? We're not supplied the transportation methods to get to games and back from games. We're taking buses 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours when, other teams are being able to fly. Hue brought up some things that Grambling is much more, Grambling's tradition is what's carrying us right now, whereas what the resources are still very, very much lacking. Having said all of that, you got to go out there and beat Southern. Like, dude got fired before the Southern Bayou Classic, and you still lost to an interim coach. You have one of the best defensive units in the league. You led the SWAC West in rushing, and you couldn't do it. So that kind of surprised me. I get it. I was short on Hue even last year. I said it. I said, look, I don't know if this dude's gonna make it when he took the G's off the helmet.
And that's so, because everybody's fan base is this way, and by this way I mean
fanatic,
fanatic, caring, and there's something just innocuous that you can do or that can be done to somebody's favorite program to make them instantly turn on the coach. And when Hue Jackson took those G's off of the helmet, and it wasn't just the jokes coming, because listen, it's HBCU, we got jokes, right? We got all types of jokes for everybody. So it wasn't just the jokes coming from outside of the program, it was the frustration inside of the program. By inside the program, I mean the alumni base, because you weren't the only Grambling alum who took to whatever platform they could get to whomever that would listen to say, yo, this is ridiculous. What is he doing? We don't do this here. And those G's mean something to Grambling. The G-Men moniker matters. And when you start messing with that, you start messing with the history and the tradition of a program and something that makes the fan base love that program. When you start doing that, if you're not successful,
get the results.
You got to get the results. And the second you don't,
there's
no going back.
You never forget it.
You can't put that toothpaste back in the tube.
No, you can't. You never forget that. And see, it's one thing. Broderick Fobbs did that after winning the SWAC championship. Okay, all right, let's see where this goes. Doug Williams does that after being who Doug Williams is with the program. All right, we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But, dude, you coming in off the street, right, basically, and you're doing this in your first or second year, and it didn't necessarily work. So now all of this evidence is building up against you. Say what you will about the attempt to hire Briles. I mean, that could go either way. I could see compassion and trying to say, hey, this is another chance. Or I could see, you know what, how do you dare do that based on this man's track record? You could be on either side of that debate, but that was still a controversial thing that if it doesn't work out, then you look even worse. So Hue did not help himself at any step of the way. Having said all of that, I'm still surprised that it ended after 2 years. So I don't know if there was a line drawn in the sand and Hue just said, all right, well, then fire me. And then that happened. We'll see. But that's just one of many, potential potential great jobs that are out there in the HBCU ranks. And we'll see how they get filled. I think a couple of more are going to come open before we get through with the Celebration Bowl, too.
Hue Jackson out at Grambling after an 8-14 overall record, 2 seasons, 6-10 in conference. And I think in addition to the missteps to the G and to the Brow situation and to there being some type of headbutting going on very clearly between him and prominent alumni. 1-4 against the biggest rivals.
Jackson State,
Southern, and Prairie View A&M. So that's going to be hard to overcome. 2 years is not enough time. And I think that he could, if it was me, now I'm not in the Grambling family, but if it was me, I would have given him another year like you, Mike, because you saw the improvement. You won 3 games last year, you won 5 this year, and was close enough. Win and get some help last week of the season. You're going to a SWAC Championship game.
The only thing about that is 3 other teams in the division said the same thing.
I would think
so 4 of the 5 teams were in it to the last week.
I think all of those coaches should probably still be there, Mike. That's me, though. That's me.
That's true.
That's me. But there was an improvement from year 1 to year 2, and look to be, hey, once they figure out offensively what they can do and what they want to be with the right players, then it'll be, all right, they'll be all the better. Yeah. And so I would have given them one more year, but probably only one. But like, yo, if you're not 8 plus an appearance in a SWAC championship game, we got to sit down and talk about this. And it's one of those things, and when we talk about some of these job openings, I want people to keep in mind there's a lot of coaches with star power, a lot of celebrity sort of coaches, and it's kind of only worked with Deion. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, I mean, you can say
it's still out on Coach George. It looks like Tennessee State. Tennessee State, much like Grambling State, didn't start off so hot under Eddie George, and now it looks like they're about to turn the corner.
Incremental progress.
The prom thing happened like that, damn near overnight.
It did.
Wasn't a great spring, and then fall just took off, and it did that for 2 seasons. It feels like some of these, if that's where you're going, you still, and by where you're going, I mean the celebrity head coaching, if that's where you're going, you still got to give these coaches
some time. Yeah.
You do.
Yeah. You know who got even less time?
Who?
Than Hue Jackson? Ed Reed. You know what I'm saying? So we almost forgot about that one, right?
Ed Reed. That may have been that may as well have been a decade ago. I forgot about Coach Reed.
You got to be careful, man. But it also means that the administration has to be realistic about what it has. Mm-hmm. And you can't just listen to the loud fan base. You got to really, dig in and say, hey, let's be realistic. Our facilities aren't where they need to be. I'm not saying that Grambling's facilities have to be as good as Southeast Louisiana's, right? Or Northwestern States or whatever. But you do have to be comparable to the teams that you're going up against. And then Hue was supposed to add that name recognition that put Grambling over the top with recruits. You got to get a quarterback. Like you had Heisman quarterbacks when you were an assistant at USC. You had to be able to fix the offense a lot better than that. But again, it won't be a memorable. I thought they got rid of Fobbs a little bit too soon. I wish we would have had Fobbs back, Broderick Fobbs back at Grambling. Maybe he comes back. I'm not sure where he is right now. But they really have to look at themselves in the mirror and be like, okay, Eddie Robinson left here a long time ago. We're a different program now. And now, we have to do what it takes to stand up to the FAMUs and the Jackson States and what these other teams are doing.
Absolutely. So this week's Pick 6 inspired by the coaching changes around the HBCU landscape. Yep. We're going to talk about not best available, just best overall best head coaching jobs at the HBCU level.
Who's on the ones and twos downstairs? Is it Kyra? All right, Kyra. I'm not sure if we can go in inverse order and go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I think she has all of them.
Okay,
so she'll just throw them all.
If you can go, I'm gonna go from the bottom. I'm gonna go from 6 and then go up to 1 if we can. Alabama State, number 6 for me in terms of HBCU pick 6. We got the whole list right there. That's fine. So I have Alabama State at number 6 because I've always felt like Alabama State had facilities. They're in the heart of Montgomery. There's really no other regional competition for that city's team in terms of what the African-American support that they get there, the political connections they have there. That's just a gold mine type situation, and they hadn't been able to really, really break through yet. Mm-hmm. Texas Southern, for the same reason. When you talk about recruiting, you say Texas, California, and Florida. Yep. Texas Southern is in the heart of Houston. I can't see why they can't. Even now with the transfer portals being what they are, Texas Southern should be a gold mine when it comes to coaching there, especially when you're in the SWAC and you have to be able to get these kids from California coming to Texas. You're in Houston big time. Southern, they have the best combination of tradition, region, fan bases who care, alumni who support financially. They got the combination of that. That's a great area. They just have not been able to just get, that momentum since Pete Richardson left. But that is an excellent job there. It's open now. Texas Southern is open now. Tennessee State. There's a little bit of apathy around the program now despite Eddie George being there. Mm-hmm. But when Tennessee State is right and they're rolling and they're good and they're getting these transfers to come in and they're winning, I don't think there's and you play in an NFL stadium, a relatively solid NFL stadium. You can't ask for anything more to recruit to than that. That's the third best job in HBCU sports, football. Jackson State, you can flip Tennessee State and Jackson State 2-3. I just think Jackson State's fan base and their alumni and having 35,000 show up every Saturday, win, lose, or draw, that gives you some power right there when it comes to what you have, and then you add the legacy to it. The best job in HBCU football right now, Willie Simmons has it. How long he keeps it is up to him and what he may be able to do in terms of jumping to a higher level. But FAMU, because of all of those things that Jackson State, Tennessee State, Southern, Texas Southern, Alabama State have, FAMU, you combine all of that in one big pot of gumbo and you pull out the top team that's performing, getting the transfers, and you're in the state with the best recruiting. Yeah, and you got like celebrities coming to your games and all of those kind of things. FAMU is the top job in HBCU football right now. Willie Simmons is doing a great job there. When it becomes available, if he decides to move up to the next level, that's going to be the premier job in HBCU football. I don't think he leaves, but if he wins the Celebration Bowl championship, I can't see why some FBS school does not look at Willie Simmons and say, this is our guy.
Was South Florida not rumored to be interested in?
They were, but they chose. It was South Florida. It was South Florida.
Okay.
And he interviewed. He openly went out there and interviewed and didn't get the job. And I think that was a mistake. I don't think too many more schools are going to look around and make that mistake again when you talk about the opportunities that he's proven to have there.
When we look at mine,
yeah,
Jackson State, Florida A&M 1 and 2 for me. I think Jackson State is 1 because you said it, Mike. Win, lose, or draw, you're getting 35,000 fans in the stadium. Never mind what's going on from a tailgating standpoint. Right. And then when you're good, if you can take care of business and be good, we saw what happens. The prime effect showed us that it could be 45, 50,000. And not just in stands, traveling with you. So
taking it on the road.
The support is absolutely there for Jackson State, much like it is for Florida A&M as well. And that's why I had Jackson State 1, Florida A&M 2. I think those are the two clear cuts right now. Grambling State, because of the history, and I do think that there is a priority there for Grambling and football. And that's so very important, where it is, hey, if we need it, can we get it? If we need it and it's in our ability to do, even if it might be inconveniencing, can we get it? And I think that Grambling has shown an ability, we'll go out there and get it now. They've got to figure some things out. The reason why Grambling is 3rd and why I could see you moving them down lower and not having them on your list, whoever is coming up with the list, the fan base, specifically the big money or the powerful alum, the ones who seem to be making the decisions as it pertains to football. If you get on their bad side, Hue Jackson got on their bad side,
done.
That's it. You can't recover. But I like Grambling State, and I think that is the right guy there. Really has a fertile program to work with. My 4th one is North Carolina A&T. I know they're down right now, but that is commitment to football is what is very, very important. And North Carolina A&T it feels like of all the HBCUs have gone all the way in on the football train and said, yo, if this is the moneymaker, we're going to do this. We're going to move whatever conference we need to move to. We're going to get whatever facility upgrades we need, equipment upgrade, whatever we need to do, we're going to go out there and do it. Southern is 5th for me because they've got it all there. They do. And Louisiana is one of those states also where, of course, you want to recruit in Florida. Of course, you want to get California and Texas. But Louisiana is very, very important. It's that next level. And you get to go to Texas. You're right there, right up against the border of Texas. So I think Southern's in a recruiting fertile ground, and I think that you can win for extended periods of time at Southern. Number 6 for me is Tuskegee, winning its HBCU football program. And when you look at Tuskegee specifically, 2000 to now, turn of the century to now, you see that Pioneer Bowl appearances, they got like 4 or 5 of them. The only reason they stopped going to Pioneer Bowls was because they were trying to go to D2 playoffs, and guess what? They got 4 or 5 of those as well, a handful of D2 national championships, and they're in a conference in the SWAC, which up until the past 2 years with Benedict, they ran. They were the team to beat, and they're still one of those teams to beat, and the SWAC, to their credit, has gotten a bit deeper with the emergence of Benedict, Fort Valley State, throw them in there as well in Tuskegee. So it's gotten a bit deeper, but you can absolutely go to Tuskegee and win games. And we've seen what the turnout has been like. Tuskegee's fan support in home games rivals FCS schools.
Yeah.
And that's big, and that's important.
I think when I look at your list, respectable list, obviously, I think we have matches there in Jackson State, FAMU, and Southern, right? And when I look at your list, if it's one team that I would take from your list and possibly add to mine, it would have been North Carolina A&T. I had them in my running. The only reason why I didn't put them over the top for me was because, yes, everything you said is true. They're making conference realign, moving in conferences, trying to align themselves right. They have the recent history of championships, but they're still in a basketball crazy state.
Okay.
And when you talk about recruiting there, you got to be able to recruit guys in North Carolina, and they've done a great job of that. But it just means a little bit differently. It hits a little bit differently when you have an opportunity in one of those Southern schools. And A&T certainly has the pedigree. Grambling doesn't belong there because here's the only reason why I say this, and we can move on from here. And this is coming from a Grambling guy. The first thing you said when you mentioned Grambling was tradition. And I think tradition is important probably to my generation, down a decade to your generation, but I'm not sure it resonates with, your grandfather knows Grambling. Your father knows Grambling.
Right.
You know Grambling.
Right.
Your nieces, nephews, and then their kids are going to be so disconnected from the Eddie Robinson legendary Grambling. And there were times, and I sat in Eddie Robinson's office, I traveled the country with him, where I remember when Nike was getting into and considering, signing its next set of schools that they were going to endorse. And Eddie Robinson would pick up the phone and get on the phone with like a Nike VP and be like, hey, here's what we need and here's why you should do. And because it was Eddie Robinson, Nike was like, yep, let's do it. Right. That tradition, and then Doug had it a little bit too because of who Doug was. But we're getting a little bit removed from that.
Yeah.
Yet the expectation is still to think that, hey, so I think that's what makes it difficult. FAMU has evolved. Right, those teams have evolved. Jackson State has evolved. They could talk about Walter Payton and all of the guys that made the Hall of Fame, but they're relevant right now too. Yeah. So that's one of the things that Grambling has to figure out. How can we be nationally relevant now and not just focus on the brand from 50 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that. Yeah. I see that as well. I'm trying to think, Mike, because we've got to be covered. Shout out the time. We've got to be at 50 minutes here. I'm trying to see if we're going to get to this last thing or if we're going to hold on to it for next week.
We can hold it. What was it?
It was the J.R. Smith.
Oh, yeah, we can hold on to it. That's evergreen. That's evergreen.
It's evergreen.
That's evergreen.
Kyra, where we at on time, dog? How far are we? Kyra came over to the house, Mike, and she just went to sleep. She fell asleep on me. 49 minutes. Yeah, so we go into here.
Okay.
That couch, Mike, when you come over, I got to get you over.
We do, yep.
You can sit on the couch. You'll go to sleep.
And just knock out.
It's a wonderful
kill
couch.
Kill over.
Amazing.
Yes.
It's an amazing couch. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on HBCU Huddle. Kyra's yelling at me in my ear. I wasn't supposed to tell her business like that. My bad, dog. Shout out Delaware State, where Kyra graduated from. You probably know her. All right, that'll do it for us. I'm CJ. That's Mike. We'll talk to you guys next week.